while we talk about personalized professional development through our new Edivate Micro-Credentials. And I'm really excited to share this all with you. This is our first out the door presentation of this concept here to outside of School Improvement Network. So I'm really excited to share all of this exciting stuff that we're doing with you. I'm Kathy Landon. I'm the VP of Product here at School Improvement Network, and joining me today is Sarah Crane. She's the product manager that is over the Edivate Micro-Credential feature. And so between the two of us, if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and enter those into the questions field. Sarah's going to be taking a look at those and helping to moderate those as we go through. So yeah, let's get started. Go ahead and ask away. So, well, first of all, I want to talk a little bit about the state of how people feel about professional development. So a couple of recent studies that were done, the Gates Foundation did a study, and they found that 71% of people are not satisfied with their current PD offerings. And that's kind of a lot of people considering the importance of professional development and how much we as an industry push that. 60% say that they don't feel that PD is even a good use of their time. So this means we have a lot of people where time is a really valuable resource. They're not satisfied with how they're spending their time, and they don't feel like it's even a good use of their time to begin with. So this is kind of a not really a positive state of affairs. And so, you know, we see something like this, and as the type of company we are, this is disconcerting. And of course, we want to know, what can we do to make people feel like they're using their time in the best way possible, and that they're engaged and enjoying the professional development that they're engaged with, and that it matters in the classroom. So one of the really interesting things is that learners today have access to all kinds of different content, and they're getting content from a whole bunch of different inputs. You know, you might be talking with a colleague and you get a great idea. You may be reading an article, a professional article. There's so many different ways that people, both officially and unofficially, actually get their professional development information. And this is great, right? This is how we all live our lives anyway. You know, you can Google any topic, and you have so much access to so much information in the world today. And so you're really developing your skills, whether you're explicitly engaged in official, prescribed, assigned professional development or not. You're getting these skills. You're kind of just absorbing these through all of the different avenues you have to engage with learning. But what's really tough with a setup like that is it's really hard to achieve recognition for the development of the skills and competencies as you're going along. So Digital Promise did a recent report, and they said that teachers are looking for professional development opportunities that are adaptable to individual teacher needs, based on competency, not seat time, and focused on continuous learning. And this is exactly what we're finding as we talk to different people, and as we think about the way people are engaging with the learning as part of their normal everyday life, right? So this study kind of backs up exactly what we're seeing too as we speak with customers. So let's think about a typical, the typical sit and get, right? So this is a fun little image here where we see people, some people are looking down at their phones, some people are paying attention, but this is this is just the adult version of a traditional classroom where people are sitting and getting the information just kind of shoved at them. But if each one of these learners engaged in this training presentation, each are coming from a different level of skill that they've already developed from reading materials or engaging with their peers or trying different things. Every single person in that room may be at a different skill level to start with. So a sit and get that assumes that everybody's at the same level is not really the most efficient way for everybody in that room to be developing their skills. And this is right here is a nice little example of the overall one size fits all plan that a lot of districts are using to just prescribe professional development to everybody in the same way, at the same pace, at the same time. And that isn't working as well as it used to. People aren't satisfied with that. We saw that on that very first slide. People aren't satisfied with this way anymore. So what if we could adapt our expectations for what professional development looks like to be more like what we're already prescribing in a personalized classroom? So think about that. We already are pushing and transforming classrooms of the future so that students can be engaged with online learning. People can be getting these resources from all of the different ways they can be collaborating. We're saying this is a great idea for the children in the classroom. So why is this also not a great idea for teachers leading these classrooms? In other words, we just need to make our PD, our professional development, personal. We need to allow our teachers and our educators to be able to adjust the pace, the entry point into the content, and where and how they gain that knowledge. And then we need a way to recognize that. And we've seen it time and again with children. We believe it's true for adults that when learners are allowed to demonstrate competency and learn at their own pace, they stay engaged with the material in a way that really promotes that material being used in the classroom. And that's the whole point of professional development. It's not just to learn some cool new things, it's to apply the things that will matter in the classroom. So again, if we change the way that we are allowing people to learn and gather knowledge, then we're going to need some way of tracking and allowing learners to demonstrate what they know and get credit, if you will, for learning these things. So really what we need is we need to take a more competency-based approach to recognizing that when people have mastered their skills. So enter Edivate Micro-Credentials. Edivate Micro-Credentials are highly personalized. The learner can engage with the micro-credentials that they want and do the learning that they need. They are competency-based, meaning if they have developed the skills in a particular area, they can actually demonstrate that competency to earn that micro-credential. And ultimately, it's a way of recognizing the mastery that somebody has achieved. It's giving an avenue to actually recognize that skill has been attained. So in general, we feel that this is a great way to go. We know that when you engage in a competency-based approach, learners are just more engaged because they can be very specific to learning the things that matter to help them achieve that competency. It rewards them for what they already know. It doesn't penalize them and make them learn it again. If you already have that skill, you can only focus in on the areas where you feel like you need more development to really demonstrate mastery of that particular skill. In general, this is just a better use of technology too. The learners can use the technology to access the materials that they need to develop the skills that they still need to develop to achieve and recognize that mastery. So in short, to just sum up, micro-credentials really are kind of a bite-sized unit of learning paired with an opportunity to demonstrate growth. That's how we like to think of this. So an interesting fact here, and this is again from a study that Digital Promise did. When they first surveyed teachers about micro-credentials, only 15% of people said they were somewhat familiar with what a micro-credential is. This is the new frontier there. This is just being developed as a concept. But once you explain to teachers and they read a description of what micro-credentials are, that they're a competency-based system that recognizes mastery, 65% of teachers say they're likely to actually try micro-credentials as part of their ongoing professional development. So when you think about that, we have a whole slew of educators out there who say they're not happy with professional development. They think it's a waste of their time. When you show them the concept of micro-credentials, 65% of people think, yeah, this might be something that I'd be willing to engage with. This is something that might actually be worth my time and something that actually I could get something out of, which is really exciting, right? I mean, that's what we want. We want people to be maximizing the very valuable resource they have, their time, to be engaged with professional development that they want to be engaged with and that they think matters. So from our perspective, from School Improvement Network's perspective, the way that we want to keep these people really engaged is to make sure we create good micro-credentials. And for us, a good micro-credential makes a couple of things really clear to the learner. So the first thing a micro-credential needs to make very clear is, what do you need to know to actually complete the micro-credential? How can you earn this micro-credential? Well, if I don't know enough to earn that micro-credential, how can I learn what I need to know to develop that skill so I I can earn the micro-credential? And then how can I also show that I've mastered those skills so that it's understood that those skills can then be applied in a classroom or other professional setting. So a good micro-credential should make all three of those points very clear to the learner that's engaged with the micro-credential. So what I want to do right now is shift a little bit and give you an actual scenario, a little walkthrough on how somebody might engage with our Edivate professional development learning platform and our micro-credentials that we will be offering from School Improvement Network. So I'm going to give you a little sample walkthrough here. So I want you to meet Sue. This is Sue. You've been seeing Sue all throughout the seminar, but now we're gonna take Sue on a little journey here. So let's say Sue is having a meeting with her instructional coach, and as they talk about what Sue might want to develop, the skills that she might need to develop for this next school year, they decide that she should really develop her skills in collaborating with students on their personalized learning plans. So that's an area where Sue needs to maybe develop a little bit and wants to pursue earning a micro-credential in this concept. So the first thing Sue's going to do is Sue's going to log into Edivate and navigate to the library. So what you're seeing here is our Edivate library of resources. And Sue's going to actually do a search related to personal learning profiles. And what that's going to do is pull up a whole bunch of results. And right there, Sue's going to see that in the library, we have the co-plan learning micro-credential that fits her needs. So she's going to go ahead and click on that micro-credential. And what that's going to do is take her to the detail page for the co-plan learning micro-credential. And on this page, there's a lot of things on this page that I want to look at a little deeper. So the first thing is, remember I said a good micro-credential makes it clear, what do I need to know to be able to achieve this micro-credential? So let's take a look, and you can see here we've clearly identified the required competencies that in order to earn this micro-credential, Sue needs to know how to do all four of these things. So we make it very clear on exactly what it is expected to earn this micro-credential. So after Sue looks through this list, she thinks to herself, yeah, I probably don't know everything I need to know to earn this micro-credential right now. So what can I do to develop my skills? What do I need to learn? What can I do to have the skills so I can complete this micro-credential? So Sue would scroll down the page and look at our list of micro-credential content. So what you're seeing here on your screen are 4 different resources related to this particular micro-credential. And the first one you can see, personalized learning profiles. It looks like Sue's already done that. There's a little gray check mark on that piece, so she's already done that. She knows that material. There's, to the right, there's an item called student-led conferences, which it looks like Sue's also completed. But there seems to be a video in here that maybe Sue hasn't watched yet that could help her develop her skills a little bit further. So she's going to click on that video, and then what we're going to have is the page for that video. So this is using a personalized learning profile video. So Sue can go ahead and interact with the learning on this page to learn more about this particular topic. So let's imagine that Sue watches this video and she gets out of it what she wants. So she's going to go ahead and click back to the micro-credential that's associated with that video. This is where she just was. And you can see that at the top of the screen, she's now completed 75% of the learning resources associated with this micro-credential. So based on watching that video, Sue says, okay, I think I'm ready. I think I can demonstrate mastery of this concept. So let's actually provide that evidence that shows that I know this topic. So Sue's going to click on the Evidence for Co-Plan Learning resource. And at this point, Sue would go ahead and look through all of the requirements that we have for her to demonstrate competency. So there's a bunch of different things here. We want an example, a personalized learning plan that she can upload. She can do a different sort of data analysis to help prove and answer some questions that she knows how to engage with this learning. So this is the evidence that says, yes, I have mastered this skill. So when Sue's all done with this work, she would come back to the micro-credential, and you can see now for the co-plan learning, this micro-credential is now complete. You can see the status up at the top. And let's say at this point, Sue wants to take the evidence of this and she wants to share this with her instructional coach. So Sue can click the little print report button up in the corner, and that's going to give a nice summary of all of the learning that was done and the evidence that was provided. So it'll actually have evidence, the evidence that Sue provided. And she can then take that and give that to her instructional coach, and they can share it and discuss a little bit further. Sue can always look at all of the micro-credentials that she's engaged with through the Learning Targets screen in Edivate. There's the micro-credential section, and you can see here's the co-plan learning micro-credential that she just completed. That's the badge for that micro-credential. You can see all of the other ones she's completed, and you can see other ones that are currently in progress that she's working on. You can be working on more than one micro-credential at a given time. So that's how micro-credentials will work in Edivate. In time for Back to School 2016, so this will be our July of 2016 product launch, will feature micro-credentials. So that is our rundown, our shakedown on Edivate micro-credentials. Are there any questions at this time? No questions so far. Please feel free to jump in and type your question in, and we'll take a look at that. All right. Well, let's see. Do we want to? I'm looking at my moderator here, Dave. Dave, do we want to give it a little more time for questions, or? All right. So it sounds like we have one question for what is the cost of a micro-credential. Right now, the way that this is going to work is that we're going to have a library of micro-credentials available in the product for back to school, and engaging with the micro-credentials is free. Is there a list of micro-credentials that are available now? We are developing out that list. We don't have a final list. One of our big focuses for the back-to-school timeframe, as you saw with the co-plan learning, that's an actual example that we're working on, is we want to develop a series of micro-credentials around personalized learning and how you can develop your skills in personalized learning in a classroom that is engaged in more of a student-centered learning approach. So that's our primary focus, but we have a long list of topics that we'd like to tackle, and as we get a little closer to finalizing those, I'm sure we'll be sharing those out. Okay, there's a couple of questions about who creates the micro-credentials and how those are put together. So in the back-to-school timeframe, what's going to happen is School Improvement Network will be creating all of the micro-credentials in the system. We are working on tools that will allow anybody with an Edivate license to go ahead and create their own micro-credentials, to associate what are the required competencies, to associate Edivate learning resources, to kind of pull those together as resources for somebody that are working towards a micro-credential, and then to specify what the evidence is that would need to be provided to earn that micro-credential. That's a little further into 2016 before people will be able to make their own micro-credentials, but everything that we'll be doing in this initial batch will all be Edivate School Improvement Network approved and created. So the question is, are the micro-credentials predetermined or do we choose them? I think there's a couple of ways I can interpret that question, so I'll answer it both ways. The first way I might interpret that question is similar to the other question. So School Improvement Network will be designing the initial batch of micro-credentials. And again, in the future, we want to allow Edivate users to create and contribute micro-credentials to the rest of the crowd. The second way I might interpret that is, as an individual, does somebody assign me a micro-credential to engage with, or can I go and search and find it out myself? Eventually, would like to allow for districts to be able to assign micro-credentials to groups of people, but by back to school, micro-credentials are an opt-in type of a situation. So you as an individual Edivate user would go to the library and find a micro-credential that meets the needs of what you're trying to demonstrate competency for, and you would choose to engage with that one-on-one as an Edivate user. Do we have any other questions, Sarah? So the next question is, who assesses the evidence submitted for the micro-credentials? So this is kind of a two-step approach here. So our first batch of micro-credentials, what we're hoping to do is to work with a few school districts to allow them to assess the evidence of micro-credentials that people in their district are working on. For people who are not part of a district that are engaging in that type of a pilot program, the evidence is all self-facilitated, meaning as you do the learning, there's checking through the learning to see what you know about the skill, and the evidence is as you're providing the evidence, it's done in such a way that you yourself are facilitating and engaged with that learning to show that you have that competency. Future plans for Edivate Micro-Credentials are to take a look at what would it take and what does that look like if we go to that next level and say there is a governing body, whether it be School Improvement Network, whether it be peer review, whether it be outsourced, however we want to do that, for micro-credentials that have been submitted, for the evidence to be further evaluated and facilitated, and then that micro-credential is somehow at a higher badge level, if you will. So then it becomes a gilded micro-credential or a certified micro-credential. We're still playing with that a little bit. And that's something we'll be looking at a little later in the year, but would not be there for the back to school timeframe. So this is, we want to hurry and kind of bring these to market to share this competency-based approach with everybody. So we're trying to work on some of the other back-end things that we could do that add even more value than what we're going to be delivering in the back to school timeframe. Any other questions? It looks like that's probably it as far as questions go. So I think, Dave, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you very much for everyone for attending. Just want to thank you for coming, and we appreciate your attendance. If you have any questions, this presentation will be emailed out to you shortly, and the recording also. And feel free to contact Kathy and Sarah with any additional questions. That their contact information will be available in the email. And with that, we'll close it up. Thank you, everyone.